My name is Chashali, your host for today. Meta Plus 2 is organized by the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Club of the University of Colombo in collaboration with the Leo Club of the University of Colombo Faculty of Science, which is being held for the second consecutive year after the successfully accomplished Meta Plus 1, which was completed spectacularly on the theme of digital media marketing. However, we will advance this year by illuminating Sri Lankan undergraduates on the theme of research and innovation in tandem with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Meta Plus 2 will be completed in 3 phases, where the first phase is comprised of enlightening workshops for undergraduates around the country, and the second phase will be a careful curated video series corresponding to the United Nations SDGs. And we will conclude our project with the grandest and finest third phase, which will be a competition for all young entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka's national and private universities. I'm pleased to inform you that we have completed the first phase of the project successfully. Today, we are going to commence the first video on our video series based on the goal of SDG 7 is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, which is one of the 17 goals established by the United Nations in 2015 as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. For this, we have a very special guest with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Dr. Tusitha Sugathapala. Dr. Tusitha Sugathapala is a senior lecturer in mechanical engineering of the University of Moratuwa and a chartered engineer. He obtained the BSc engineering degree from University of Moratuwa and PhD from University of Cambridge. He served as the head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering and the Director General of Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority. Dr. Sugathapala's research areas of interest cover both energy and environment fields, including renewable energy, energy efficiency, and air quality management. He has served several national level committees, conducted national and regional level research programs, and involved with development of policies and regulations. Without further introduction, I'm honored to introduce our esteemed guest speaker today, Dr. Tusitha Sugathapala. Sir, we warmly welcome you for the first video session on Meta 2 Plus Phase 2.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So, to begin today's episode, let's focus on yourself a bit. First of all, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, I think you have already highlighted the key points. So I have been basically my education is through A-level mathematics stream and going into the engineering. So I specialize in mechanical engineering in the undergraduate level, and then at the postgraduate level, energy related topics, and I've been involved with education, undergraduate, postgraduate, and also other education areas in energy, environment, and more recently on broader context of sustainable development and also climate change, those areas. So my research is also aligned on those areas, and as also you have indicated, some of these activities are done with, most of the activities are done with the partnerships with local institutions, other experts, as well as a regional and global level. So presently, I am working more on environmental sustainability, sustainable development, and also climate financing, or those areas. But my emphasis, the key emphasis are related to, when you look at the long-term involvement, are related to renewable energy like wind energy, biomass energy, energy efficiency, those areas, and also energy conservation or energy management in industry, So it's basically we are talking about the sustainable energy in a broader context. So therefore, I have some background on sustainable energy, and also then SDG 7 is an area I have been involved in. I stop there. So during the discussion, there'll be further elaborations with some of the experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the brief explanation. As my first question, sir, we all know the goal of SDG 7 is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, which is one of the 17 goals established by the United Nations in 2015 as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I would like to ask you that, why is SDG 7 important?
Yeah. Before going into SDG 7, I want to also highlight this, what we call is SDG 17, and the basis for SDG 17 come with the overall concepts is 2015 to 2030 is 2030 agenda on sustainable development. That's the basis. And we look at that one, of course, it provides 17 goals, but not in isolation. So we have to remember that one of the key guiding principles of 2030 agenda is is that these goals, 17 goals, are interconnected and indivisible. So therefore, when you're talking about SDG 7, that's the basic topic today, you can't left the others also, because these are integrated. So that's one thing. Secondly, it also talk about no one left behind, mean that even SDG 7, when you are looking at, you can see this word, the access to energy or modern energy for all. That all word is basically one of the guiding principles of sustainable development. No one left behind. So everyone should be catered that. So therefore, in brief, these are very complex, but providing a universal solution to the development challenges. And so therefore, although we are talking energy today, remember that these are not in isolation, these are linked to all the other areas. So that's why even this topic, we are access, affordable, these are basically the social aspect, looking at social. And then we have reliability, there's a technical thing, modern energy is technical, and sustainable talk about the environment aspect. So therefore it's basically sustainable energy, looking at the economy, society, and environment. But further to that, you also, you can highlight that when you look at SDG, the 17 SDGs, you can group these SDGs under these 3 pillars of sustainability. 5 of the SDGs are broader context, can be, listed under the environment, another 5 under the economy, another 5, that is 15. Then under the, then there are 2 more, that's SDG 16 and 17. Those talk about another important aspects beyond sustainability. Basically, talk about the the governance aspect, institutions, partnerships, stakeholders. So all are basically integrated. So therefore, this SDG 7, of course, is on energy, but it talk about many other aspects. But look at the energy, why it's important, why it's highlighted as a single in SDG, is that when you look at the economic side, it's only one side, but economic side, in general, it says that more than 90% of the economic activities are directly or indirectly supported by energy. So therefore, energy has going into the the economy, directly to that one, and development. We look at even individual, like even our personal life, how far we depend on energy. So even now, basically, we are using light, we are using maybe AC or fans. In our day-to-day life, for cooking, your transport, anything you talk, even the industry, commercial establishment, everywhere we use energy. So therefore, energy is a backbone of economic development. But then sustainable energy go beyond that. Economy, of course, important, but then today's development has given rise to many challenges for our sustenance. That's why we talk about sustainable development, the balanced development. So that bring in the society and environment also part of the the whole economy and the other aspects. So therefore, sustainable energy SDG 7 cater for this all the aspects. So it's listed under economic dimension because that's the basis basically. But then you can't neglect the social and environment aspect. So therefore, SDG 7 is a very important development dimension in sustainability.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's move on to the next question. Sir, can you tell us what are some example topics of successful research projects related to SDG 7 that you have seen or been involved with according to current needs?
Yeah, now there when you go into the details, because this SDG 7, the clause given there, what you call ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all is a very brief, it's a title, it's a topic, so, but the real meaning you can understand only when we go into the details. So SDG is 17 goals also have, the targets, and we have indicators. We have SD sustainable development targets that are there. So under this SDG 7, there are few targets as well as indicators. So that's the framework basically. The secondly, now these targets and indicators, even the goal, are worded as a guidance document, like it's a guidance. You can't just implement that because these are given for all countries. It's a common one. When we are implementing, we have to localize it. So we have to adjust this one to align with our needs, localization at the national level, the local level, institutional level, and even the personal level. So that's the embracement of SDGs. The implementation should happen that way. You can't just implement SDGs as it is. It's just a guidance. It's like a strategy. A real implementation, we have to go into more detail. So when you go into that level, each of these, and this also linked to other SDGs, and there are many, gaps, challenges, all these areas, even the governance, even the institutions, even the policy, related to environment. So therefore, you can find many research, areas because we have gaps everywhere. So therefore, I think many institutions, universities, and other agencies, even the government level, authorities, all are involved in this research. That's although we don't publish as such, anything we do is a kind of a research. So therefore you can find many such examples. So if you want to bring few of those with my, of course, experience, I can just now. So we had to look into how far those research contributed to our own, the economic or the social or environment development in the country. So in that context, I will highlight few maybe key, probably among many. I don't want to, give like wrong message by selecting. It's a very difficult thing to select. I just pick few. So first thing is, for example, now when we see recent league government has declared that we want 70% renewable energy contribution by 2030, electricity, it's electricity, and also carbon neutrality in the energy sector by 2050. And then, so in that line, to cater for that one, there are a lot of things is happening now at also research level. So I just want to pinpoint one of those. For example, Sustainability Authority, they have done a very detailed assessment of renewables to identify what are the resources that can be, developed to firstly reach this 2030 target, and then beyond that in place. So it's a resource assessment I am talking about. So therefore, it's not just the technology aspect; it's one of the aspects. So therefore, when you look at energy system, energy is a system. You have three main aspects. One is the resource, and one is the application, the use as thing, and then we have technologies. So, and in the back background, we have policies, regulations, there are many other things. So therefore, research is happening in all these cases. What I have highlighted there is one of the research or research area where especially Sustainability Authority and also University Board get involved, and then they have developed this roadmap for renewable energy. You can find it now. Now, CB recently published expansion plan, which highlight how this 70% target is going to be done by 2030. So that's also through very detailed research done internally by many people, experts within the CB, using different modeling exercise, the resource mapping, so what you have seen is the final output, but there are a lot of research effort have been gone into that. So I would say one of the key success, example of this, sustainable energy is direction is basically the resource estimation of resources in Sri Lanka. This is one aspect. It's a higher level, like policy and higher level research. The other one, probably I can bring the other side when look at the end use application. Now you know that recently we had this crisis, the economic crisis, as after the COVID pandemic issue. Still we have that thing, and especially in the energy sector, we had lack of supply of energy, like even LPG we had issue, like even cooking we had issue, then transport, so then you can see there are, of course, research have been happening for so many decades of years, but then with this requirement, there are some products developed to cater for the need. One of the probably area I can highlight, or the product I can highlight, the biogas system. So, and especially for domestic level. And there are entrepreneurs, of course, researchers who develop this biogas system for years. And finally, with this, the window of opportunity, they have developed technologies to cater for the society. And one of such development is done by one of the past graduate from our university. He has developed a biogas system, very compact. In fact, I have that one in my house, which cater for 1/3 of my energy, basically like cooking energy, biogas system from my own waste. So that is through a very detailed, long-term research, but came out as a solution to the present crisis. So I would say in the biogas area, waste to energy, especially small scale, you can find many such development which cater for this SDG 7. Now here is talk about the access, because it's everyone can use that. It's technologies, local technology. Even rural area, they can use this technology. The access is there, affordable because it's not a costly system. Your fuel is your own waste, so you don't have to buy it. So then reliable and sustainable, because it prevent the waste management, waste issue also, and also the technology is modern. In fact, it's very clean combustion, because we combust like LPG, very similar. We use in fact LPG cook stove, but it's again improved to cater for the new fuel, biogas. Biogas contain methane. LPG, we have butane, and other, different hydrocarbons, propane and butane. So therefore, you can't just use, LPG stove. So this particular entrepreneur, he has also changed, modernized the LPG stove to cater for the biogas. So it's a perfect system, I would say. It's a what do you call this? This circular economy concept that your own waste is used for. So zero waste concept, for energy. So biogas technologies developed locally is another example. Similarly, we have cook stoves, pellet stove, like using sodas, pellets, that type. So we can find many such small scale applications. Even the industrial, in micro industries, you have biomass dryers. Even now we can see some like solar systems, not only electricity but also thermal applications. So there are a lot of technologies developed in that context. Further to that, even when you look at transport, like electric mobility, there are local entrepreneurs now developing small vehicles like bicycle, motorcycles, three-wheelers. These are locally developed. Companies are developing those now because to cater for the present crisis. So therefore, all the sectors you can find local developments. Of course, some of those development are supported by global, these development partners like even UNDP and other agencies. There are a lot of supports we get from others also globally. But development happen locally too, and even the universities they have been involved in those development. So I would say there are many. Unfortunately, these success stories have not been properly communicated, and very few. In some of these I talk here also, probably you are hearing first time, so that's sad. Even this biogas system, for example, is I think something everyone can use, because we can manage your own waste, so that's very good system. But then this the dissemination of this information, communication of our results development to the community we are very weak. As a society, we are very weak in communicating the research findings. So therefore those are still limited to certain geographical regions or certain community rather than going into the whole society. So therefore we are failing part of that, the communication aspect, dissemination we are failing, but at least we have success stories where we can highlight as part of this the SDG 7. But this is not enough. What I highlighted is some of the success stories. We have failures also, but presently I would say still we are far away from achieving SDG 7. Of course, the present crisis also has affected, but that's not an excuse. That can be, we can convert this issue or to a challenge to an opportunity. So I think we have not done that properly. So at least this discussion, I think, will create a forum to further discuss and then finally address these challenges. Yeah. So there are many other examples where we can begin and then disseminate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. My next question is, sir, how can you make sure that our research aligns with the principles of sustainability and the SDG 7 goals?
Right. Yeah. In fact, it's not only for SDGs in general. When we do any research nowadays globally, we conduct this one with the sustainability framework, and we have to look into the problems on what we call sustainability lens. Otherwise, we don't see the problem properly. So far, what happened in Sri Lanka context, or even many other examples globally, also regionally, globally, that you don't see the problem properly. We only see one side. For example, in energy sector, we only see the economic aspect. When we have issue of buying energy, when the electricity bill goes up, then people talk about energy conservation and other economy. So only when it's affect your the pocket, that economy, only people think about it. But really, that should not be the case, because SDG talk about other dimension, environment, society, even the governance aspect, and so on. So these are the missing areas. So therefore, we have failed to achieve our the target, at least the progression towards that one, because we have not seen the problem properly. We are seeing only one side. So that means you have to appraise. Even when we analyze when we identify the problem, we have to appraise through what we call sustainability lens. We have to look into the economy, we have to look into the society, we have to look into the environment, and also the governance. Then only you see the problem as it is, or properly. Unless you see the problem properly, you can't give a solution. So what we have seen so far is only one side. Therefore, the solution we have given so far is not sufficient, not adequate to solve the problems. That's why we are still facing energy problems, because we are still in the dark. We miss generally, because so therefore the approach should be, when you even understand the problem, you have to set that the dimension, sustainability lens, look into that society, economy, environment, and governance. Sustainability, of course, has 3 dimensions, but SDGs we have the 4th one, that's the governance. the partners, the stakeholders. So that when you see a problem, even very small problem, let's say if we look at, if someone wants to do a study on cook store, he has to look into not only the economy aspect, the money or the, I think we are looking the social aspect, we are looking the environment aspect, we have look at the governance, the stakeholders, everyone. So then only you can shape the what you call the problem. I'm not talking the solution. Still, I am talking about the problem. The problem definition, problem statement. We had to derive to the sustainability lens. It's called sustainability assessment. These are not new things. When the sustainable development was put forward to this 2030 agenda in 2015, it also talked about this sustainability assessment and guided this, the 2030 agenda SDGs to the methodology called sustainability assessment methodology. It's already there. It's also, I think, originated through the United Nations Environment Program to provide the guidance, but these are now developed far more than that. So we have to basically assess your problem through the sustainability, assessment methods, where I talk about different criteria, so and we have to have indicators to looking into, even the solution, you have to cater for these dimensions. So therefore, the basic approach should be the sustainability assessment. We have to frame the problem through that one, and we have to find a solution to cater for all these aspects. So therefore, we have to set criteria, indicators, because we have to show the progress and output. So for that one, you have to have, because you have to have progress monitoring to show success, you have to have indicators and criteria. So we have to set criteria on the environment, economy, society, governance aspect, and show that at the end of the project we have achieved it, at least whether we have achieved or not. So therefore, you have to have a framework for the problem, research problem through sustainability dimensions. That's the important aspect. So that's, I think, missing one, and now we are trying to inculcate this one through this concept for undergraduate and other levels. But then this is not only for undergraduate to postgraduate level; it should go into even the school education, even to early childhood education. It's a lifestyle change. So basically, so it's to mainstream sustainability concept. The research has going to not only the theoretical or high level research, but going into the society, environment, and so on. So therefore, I think we had to have a transformational change in understanding, shaping a problem as well as providing solution. So this is again the huge gap. But the tools are there, but we have to localize it, adopt to the local context, and then redefine your problems, research problems, with those broader contexts. So that we can have very good research. Where are the funding is also available now? Any major research we do now, always we indicate how this project contribute to the SDGs. That's a must now. Not like those days. We have to indicate to get the funding. I'm talking about big funding, even for initial level. We always write how this research contribute to SDGs as well as climate change, because one of the key challenge, the most difficult challenge we face now is the climate change. So therefore, there are a lot of funding for climate, climate related one. So therefore, to attract funding, do research, we always highlight in the proposal how this research contribute to SDGs and also how it contribute to the climate actions. So that's the area we have to think about. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Moving on to the next question. How can we ensure that our research is accessible and understandable to wide policymakers?
Right. Yeah. Now that's where the stakeholder dimension come in. I point out that earlier. Stakeholders, their involvement is mandatory. So far in Sri Lanka, most of the cases, the way even the technology development as well as even the policy development happen in a particular layer. When you look at policy development, these decisions are taken by what you call strategic level staff, high level management level. There are the room for other stakeholders, is very limited. For example, the private sector is usually not consulted, when you do policies, because they think that policy should be developed by the government. Even the central government, they don't consult properly the local governments, like provincial council, local authorities, because they think that, no, this is my area and we can do that. That's wrong. We have to have a multi-stakeholder engagement platform for any activity, even policy development up to even technology development. So therefore, it's very important. I think the question is so very important, and it's very important to get involved all these stakeholders from the beginning. Not sometimes what you do, we develop everything and finally put into what you call public comments at the end. That's wrong. Their involvement should happen even at the beginning. As I said earlier, when you identify a problem, they are itself, the problem is with them, not us, like the community or the private sector or industry. They have the problem, not us, right? So therefore we had to understand the problem, we had to give the solution to them. So therefore the solution we develop in our laboratories, in our research, is never very rarely cater for the community on the industry, because we have not really understand their problem and giving the solution to their problem. So therefore there's a gap. So therefore it's very important to ensure that you consult all these stakeholders. Like when I start in the research, even defining the research problem, you have to consult the relevant government agencies, authorities. For example, if you want to do a energy-related project, it's a mandatory that you have to consult institutions like Ministry of Power and Energy, Energy Power. Now we have two ministries there: Sustainability Authority, CEB, and also private sector. Because presently, I think majority of the renewable energy projects are done by private sector, and in the future it will be more. Then banks, who provide the financing, So likewise, even for example, planning department, the Department of National Planning, we have to consult them, and also the community, finally, who is going to use your solution? That may be the community, a particular community problem, a particular area. So we have to visit them, a particular village, and then understand their issue, their requirement. Otherwise, what we are providing is not a solution, and all the research will be end up with a paper or a report which lie in a cupboard. So it will never go to the society. So therefore, the state consultation is a mandatory from the beginning and to the end. And there are all these stakeholders. We can just do the stakeholder, we do a stakeholder mapping, to understand different stakeholders there, how we can manage them. And we have to ensure that all these stakeholders, in directly or indirectly, support your research. So that we have to have a good communication with them. So therefore, presently we have that gap, communication gap, because the way we had to talk with the policymaker is different from when we talk about the society, community. So we had to have that skill. That's where even the research team, we had to have multidisciplinary research team. It's not just technical people. We had to have a social specialists. We have to have communication specialists. Of course, everyone has some level of the expertise, but then when you look at the reality, there are experts. So I'm not a communication expert. I am a technical expert. So when I do research, for example, we hire gender expert, for example. Then we have a communication expert we hire, because we don't have that skill. So we have to have multidisciplinary research team do a good research. So therefore, maybe at least some stage of your research, ensure that you consult at least different expert to get that flavor or aspect in our research. Otherwise, most of the work we do is incomplete. Yeah. So that's my response to your question.
Thank you very much, sir. Moving on to the next question. From where can we gather information, and how can we engage with stakeholders and community members to ensure that our research is relevant and meaningful to those who are most affected by energy poverty?
Right. Yeah. So that's why I partially highlight that one, but then go into more detail. Is basically talk about stakeholder assessment analysis. That has to be done. So we had to list out. There are methodologies, guiding methodologies we can use. There are different tools, but fundamentally these involve first list out all the stakeholders. Sometimes we list out, under the category, we go for government institutions, national government, local government, provincial council, local authority, then the private sector, then going into the community level like NGOs, communities, CSOs and community-based organizations, CBOs, then the media. I forgot to indicate that also media. Media is a key group. Then development partners. Then financial institution, and there are groups. So those are again available in any literature. What are the stakeholder groups? Then we identify who are the stakeholders on each group. For example, if you are talking about energy, I also highlighted that national government, you have Minister of Power, Minister of Energy, Minister of Environment, then Minister of Industry. If you are doing industrial projects, there are many. Then we have Sustainability Authority, then CB, LECO, Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. They are the regulator, many. So we list it. So we have usually I use Excel sheet, have a detailed list of agency, even the media, like printing media, digital media. We have all the category and list out each and every institutions. You'll come up with maybe 60, 70 agencies. Then we do a kind of a screening, because you can't consult everyone, because we have limited time, limited resources. So you have a kind of a criteria, screening criteria to highlight whether these are direct, indirect, or very important, whatever. Like usually I go by 3 categories, like 1, 2, 3 type of thing. Very important or important, then maybe intermediate, and then less important, something like that. Or we can have 5 categories like Likert scale. So we do that assessment to screen this list. So this maybe 70, finally end up with maybe 20, screening. Then also you may find this is again too large. So we can go for a bit more detailed assessment by looking at their 2 aspects we look into. One thing is their mandate, whether this particular group has a mandate in engaging in the area you work. So whether they have a role to play, in their legal framework. For example, if you are doing a research project on renewable energy, now Sustainability Authority has given mandate to develop renewable energy. So therefore, they have to be there, something like that. So we look into that level. The first thing is we look at the mandate. We got power. They have power to change something, make a policy or maybe technology development. So that the power. Other aspect, we look at the interest. Sometimes people have power, but they don't have interest. So they don't use that power. So therefore, now when we have 1 or 2 year, even short-term research, you can't wait for them to respond. So therefore, sometimes we look into their interest. Whether if they are not very interested, probably going after them will not work. But then we don't left aside those. They have the power. So we keep them informed, but we are not engaged with them in detail because they don't have interest, something like that. So therefore, there are people, they have very much interest, but they don't have power. So then we use them to, because they have ideas, but they can't implement. So therefore, we consult them, get their ideas, and then communicate to the people, stakeholder having the power, and so on. We therefore look into their different attributes to see how far they are relevant, their power, their interest. Then we select them according to that. And even when you are developing the questionnaires, we develop questionnaires for these groups. We don't have single one type of questionnaire to get people, because they are different people, like different institutions. So we adjust our questionnaire by looking at their attributes. So it's not easy, the stakeholder analysis. So therefore, basically we have to start from there, and then we understand their requirement, their power, their interest, and then when you develop your the research and the activities as well as final outputs, that should cater for their requirements. So because once you do this thing, we then have interviews with them. Sometimes we have a online questionnaire circulated in general, but then we have to have a one-to-one interviews with some of the people, maybe a focus group discussion, for example, 5, 6 people together. We have to plan for that one. Some expert, we have to have one-to-one detailed thing. So rather than giving a questionnaire, we have an interview and then have a discussion there, like what we are doing here. No, so like that. So therefore, we handle differently, and then you understand their requirement, everything, and then your solution has to be made to cater for that. So then we have to communicate in that way. The way we have to communicate to, let's say, if we do a research project, we come up with, let's say, 100-page research document, a report. You can't give that to a policymaker. I mean, policymaker will not read, no? So we come up with maybe 3-4 page policy brief. Your work is 100-page, but you have only 4-page, 3-page policy brief submitted to the policymaker. But if we are going for community again, and again, the policy brief, that's not relevant to the community, right? So then we have to have communication material cater for the community, with pictures, and by showing how this product or your research can solve their problem. So maybe a working model or something, the communication. So therefore, that's why I said we need a communication expert to do that also. But then, of course, when you do this type of research, normally you also will get expertise on that one to manage up to some extent. So therefore, the communication material has to be different for different experts, different group, stakeholders. That's a part of the research outcome. So therefore, now usually in the research project, we talk about the papers, journal papers and so on, that will never very rarely serve the community. So therefore, you have to have as a research outputs, not only journal papers, not only the conference papers, that of course important, but that is not adequate at all, especially for SDG 7, sustainable development. We have to cater for all. So that means we have to even present your research finding to a very poor, community. So we had to go there, and maybe you have to use the local languages, maybe Sinhala or Tamil in local context. If you don't know, you have to hire a person for that one. Sometimes we don't talk, we ask someone else to present because we are not capable of communicating that message to them. So we have to use someone else. So one of these such a project, for example, we have a technology transfer project where we have worked with one of the agencies those days, what you call practical action. They have the expertise in that. So we have expert groups, CSOs, NGOs who know how to, who have the access to the communities. So then rather than we go into there, we of course work with them. They have become partners. They communicate our results to them. So that's where the partnerships become very important. Don't think that knowing theoretically and coming up to solution is enough. It's not. You have to have your partners coming from all the even private sector. So they will finally develop and communicate. So just to add to that one, this also linked to this innovation and other thing also. This is one of the major gap we see in our inventors. Inventors usually come up with a product and they want to usually own that product and then sell and make a business. But remember that doing the business is a complete different skills, and marketing, everything is different skills. You don't have it. You have the expertise for technology development or innovation. Even inventors doesn't have technology development capacity. They have to link to a university. They do the technology development. Of course, with the inventor, they have the idea, but then you have to work with the university to have technology development. But university can't sell the product. We have to then have a private sector, parties, and even the government level interventions to see whether their regulatory and other requirements are okay. And finally, private sector engagement, entrepreneurship, should come in. And finally, the product will go to the society. But in our case, all these stakeholders usually work in isolation. We never get a product into the, very rarely get a product because we don't have as a single stakeholder group, they don't have the capacity to have a complete solution. So therefore, it's very important aspect that you have correct people and understand your capability, and then the balance has to be, come through the partnerships. So that's why even SDGs, we have SDG 16 and 17 talk about partnership, partnership and institutions all are there because, there's a very important area to be understand. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. My next question is, sir, what are some of the most exciting emerging technologies and innovations in the field of sustainable energy, and how can we incorporate these into our research projects?
Right. Yeah. These are, of course, there are many buzzwords now going around, and I will start with that. For example, we talk about this green development, green economy, sustainable development. There are many words. Even blue economy is linked to the marine resources. So there are a lot of buzzwords. Circular economy, and there are a lot of things. So, but finally, all are centered around sustainable development. So therefore, if you want to understand, I think you have to, all these broader concepts, you have to understand the 2030 agenda, its basis, and the SDGs. When you have good understanding of that one, even the localization aspect, then you will see a better picture. So therefore, I recommend you all, to first understand. Understand means have the true meaning of SDGs, the 2030 agenda first. It's a universal solution, and then SDGs, and also going into localization, indicators, and so on. So that's important. So once you have that understanding, so then so basically in that context, once you have that type of a big picture, then you can shape, as I said earlier, also into the the particular research area to align with the local requirements. So that's the basic concept. Can you again repeat I just forget the question. Just to add to that, I think I missed something. Can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, sure, sir. What are some of the most exciting emerging technologies and innovations?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So in that context, globally, this happened globally. So that one of the key, this comes with the sustainable energy basically, and one of the key maybe area we are talking about is hydrogen economy. So basically, it's called green hydrogen. Hydrogen is not a fuel. We can generate hydrogen from hydrocarbons or even water through simple processes like electrolyzing. And if you use renewable energy, these are carbon-free or environmental issues are very minimal. It's called green hydrogen. So when you get hydrogen, hydrogen is one of the best fuel. So now the fossil fuel we have to extract, from the ground, and it's decaying. But hydrogen is not like that. We can generate hydrogen through renewables. So then it's a renewable energy. So hydrogen economy or hydrogen energy is one of the key technology that will come in. It's now under development in many areas. So, for example, in transport, for example, we can replace IC engine with hydrogen combustion, for example. Also, we have another technology called the fuel cell technology, hydrogen fuel cell. So rather than having a combustion, we can have another process. It's a reverse electrolysis. We call the fuel cell technology, hydrogen fuel cell. So thereby we can convert hydrogen to energy through combustion. That's the conventional form. What you're getting there is when you combust hydrogen, we get water vapor, no carbon. So that's why when you have green hydrogen, no carbon emission, no air pollution. So it's a very sustainable energy form. But the issue is presently the cost, storage, the supply chain. There are a lot of challenges are there. Efficiency is an issue. So there are a lot of research in that. It's hydrogen. One thing is how to generate hydrogen to renewables. So we had to talk about renewable energy then. What type of renewable energy? What are the technologies? All linked to that. Once you get the hydrogen, then we have the supply chain. How to store it, how to transport, and then how to convert that energy for industry, for household, for cooking, for transport. There are many different topics there. So therefore, I would say one area is hydrogen economy. And it says that by 2050, hydrogen economy will be one of the main system in place globally to cater for energy sector, hydrogen. Even for industry, like heavy industries, hydrogen is a solution. Other one is with that hydrogen also considered as a energy storage. So with hydrogen, we can store it. So it's energy storage. So similarly, we have the energy storage. More popular one is the battery. So therefore, energy storage is another key research area. For example, transport sector, it's a massive one. Electric mobility, like electric vehicles, the future depends upon how far the battery technology develops. Even today, like when you have power cards, we talk about the storage, battery energy storage. battery is one, but generally energy storage is another key research area for coming decades, even beyond that. So energy storage should be considered important area. Another one is basically now we have this the presently in the globally 81% of our primary energy coming from fossil fuel. 81%, even today. The majority, the renewables are less than 15%, I think. So because we have even nuclear, decades, even after 2050, there will be fossil fuel technologies. So it's because that's the present infrastructure is below for that. You can't just neglect it because we have spent so many billions of money or dollars for infrastructure. You can't throw it away, right? So therefore, fossil fuel will be used in the future for the 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So then how you manage the carbon emission issue, because the coal power plant will be there, So then we have a technology called, we have heard about it, carbon capture and storage. We use fossil fuel, but ensure that those carbon emitted in the combustions are not allowed to go to the atmosphere. We capture it. And then store it. So it's called carbon capture and storage. This is also emerging technology, very costly now, but then can be considered to be one of the key technology in the future. So therefore, another technology to be developed where it's allow the research also, carbon capture and storage. Even the storage is very difficult, how to store it for so many years. We have to store it. So another area is that carbon capture and storage. Then there are many others. I just want to highlight that. Then the ICT. This how the communication, IT aspect, Internet of Things, even our equipments, how to control it, I think it's another key area. Like even, we are using this, the ICT for many other applications now, even supply chain, even the meetings, we have this type of even discussion is happening now online, it has gone to that level. But in ICT can be used for energy too, so to get better data, better information. So therefore, use of ICT for energy is another area where you can have research, how you can improve the energy efficiency. For example, you can develop certain Internet of Things, or IT tools or apps to manage energy in your house. For example, you can control your fridge from your office by having a simple, control, like because we had mobile phones, the activities are there. You can control even if you forget to switch off your, let's say, fan or a bulb, you don't have to wait for it, hours to come back and then switch off. You can do it at your from your, you can monitor even, so you can monitor your energy consumption. So therefore, IT, there are many areas where the IT can support this energy transition for sustainable energy development. Then of course, electric mobility is another specific area. EVs is coming. Then that locally also we have a lot of development. So electric vehicles like technology, those are some of the key areas under discussion. And other things, the other renewable energy technology in Sri Lanka, we have developed only so far solar, wind, biomass, hydro. These four. What about the ocean thermal? What about the wave? What about the geothermal? There are other resources. Those resources, the technologies are still under development. We can localize it. We can have research on that area, the development of other renewable resources that can be more, economically advantageous if we have a good technology. So therefore, other renewable technology development is also an area of development globally as well as important for local context. So those are some of the, I think, key areas we can think about in energy sector. But then, of course, there are other things like policies, other, supportive, even data management, databases, development databases. There are a lot of other things to support this transition, even the capacity building aspect, training. There are a lot of other research that should support even regulatory, interventions, novel thing that, and most of the cases, what is the solution we are expecting now, transformational in nature. You can't have an incremental solution because the problem is so severe. You can't wait. So therefore, innovation become very mandatory. Now, globally, especially in developed countries, they spend more money on innovation than research. research, it might take 15 years to get a solution, but innovation can give a solution within 1 or 2 years sometimes. No? So, for example, what happened in COVID, usually in pharmaceutical industry, it takes 15 years to develop a new product or new medicine, but you can't wait for 15 years in COVID, right? So that's a critical situation. Energy is the similar thing. We need energy transition. You can't wait. It's a serious issue now. So we need innovations. So that's a mandatory one. So all these research can have innovative aspect. We are not talking about the completely new product. That's another mistake done by most of our entrepreneurs or other inventors. They think that innovation is a new product. It's not. In an incremental thing. Probably you are aware that in smartphone, there are 2,400 innovations. 2,400 innovation in single product, smartphone. So, and even in a smartphone, if you talk about the camera, there are 60 plus innovation in the camera, 60 plus. So therefore, all these come from different inventors. So therefore, these smartphones, any brand is owned by not the company. All these 2,400 innovators, So it's a that's the concept basically. It's an incremental thing. That's common to even for Toyota car. There are 2,000 each model. There are 2,000 plus innovations. It's not the car. It's small innovation comes together. So therefore, we had to look at the incremental type of thing, not just products are also there. But innovation doesn't mean just a completely new product. It's not the case. So anything you can have innovations coming in to improve the present situation. So yeah, so that innovation also become very important.
Thank you very much, sir. Moving on to the next question. What are some common challenges that researchers face when conducting research on energy access and sustainability, and how can these challenges be overcome?
Yeah. So basically, you can see to do a research, we need resources, right? Resources include financial resources, of course, then the human resources, the expertise, then the other support, even policy, regulatory supports, access to data information. There are many areas. So when you look at all those areas, we have gaps. If we start with the financial thing, to do a good research, we need a considerable amount of finance, which is not available locally. When you look at the amount of research funding allocated by the government is very limited, not adequate at all. So we have a funding issue. But then there are opportunities. So we can work with globally, we can access finance for other resources. There are development partners, UN agencies, ADB, World Bank. There are many, EU-based, institutions who can support. But then, so that funding is there, but we don't have the access because we have another challenge. We don't know how to write a report. We don't know how to write a report to cater for the that particular funding source. So that's the area where we have a resource issue in terms of the human capacity. We usually have, we work in isolation, so maybe there are research group, but in the same area, maybe same department, same area. But when you do a research, we had to look into the other area. We had to have environment aspect, we had to have social aspect. Today's those days in our time, 20 years, 30 years back, technology alone can, we can get the funding. Now it's not the case. To get funding, we have to indicate how, as I said earlier, so it contributes to the environment, society, SDGs. So that means we need a multi-stakeholder partner group. So therefore, the lack of expertise is another challenge we are having, unfortunately. Sometimes we can do it, but we have to look into that again. This is a general statement. Of course, there are good groups, they can do it. So therefore, financial is an issue. But then there are solutions to reach this access to financing. We need the capacity. That's not there. There's a gap. Then when you develop, especially technologies, we need laboratories, other supportive things. That's also a real issue because Sri Lanka, we don't have a good laboratory because maintaining a good laboratory is very costly. It's not, self-sustained model basically, unless you can sell or you can sell the service. But in Sri Lanka, when there's no one to pay for that, we don't have money to pay even for that. So we don't have laboratories. We don't have technology certification centers. If you develop a technology, you can't just market it unless someone, certify it. Some what you call, the accredited laboratory or someone capable. Sri Lanka, we have very limited accredited laboratories or testing centers. Even to do a sample test, sometimes we have to send the sample to some other country, very costly. So therefore, we don't have the supportive structure for, especially for technology development. Then also the challenge is with the limited connectivity. We work in isolation. We don't have connection with the government. We don't have connection with the private sector. We never go to the community. We just work in isolation in the laboratory. So therefore, another challenge is the connectivity, how to connect, with the other stakeholders. So it's a real challenge to do a good research project. That's another area. Then lack of data. There's a real challenge in Sri Lanka. There are two things. One thing is we don't collect data most of the cases. Different authorities who have to collect it, especially government level, because they are authorized to do that, but they don't collect sometimes. But sometimes they collect, but they don't share. There are two reasons why they are not sharing. Probably we have also faced that one. We need try to get some maybe environmental related or data from an institution. They don't provide it. Sometimes we have to get a letter from the university, but even with that, you get very limited data. There are two things. One thing is they may not have the data. First thing, they don't collect it. Secondly, they collect the data, but then they are not sure whether that data is collected according to the data quality, data quality issue. So therefore, they fear that they are when we share the data, we will find the loophole. So that's because sometimes we can say that this data is not correct. So they worry on that. So therefore, they don't share the data because they are not confident on the quality of the data. Thirdly, now data is a raw thing. You can't eat. To eat something, we have to cook. So what we need is the information, not the data. So we have data sometimes, but we rarely have information. No one analyze the data in Sri Lanka. We just collect it and then keep it. So therefore, no one can eat it. So it will not contribute to the knowledge creation. So therefore, these data we are collecting in Sri Lanka has to be assessed, appraised, evaluate, and have a data quality issue and so on to the data control, quality control and so on, quality assurance, quality control schemes, and all these things should be there. So therefore, data accessibility, data quality is another challenge for researchers. Without data, you can't do much. So therefore, we have the data in isolated places. These are not available for in public domain. Why is not there? I already highlighted that there's a quality issue, partial collection of data. There are a lot of issues are there. So that's a challenge, and SDGs, it will be really important to have the data to ensure that we are reaching the target. Now we have to show the target. So especially in climate action, it's a mandatory that you have to have a good monitoring, reporting, and verification system in your data. You can't play with the data. We have to show the actual data. So accurate data. Sri Lanka, we don't have that system yet, but it's become very important to have it. It's become mandatory now. So therefore, the government has initiated certain activities like Ministry of Environment and other institutions to collect that data and then share it. But it's happening, not happen to the level we expect. It's just started, I think. So that will be improved in the future. But for researchers, we have that issue. But then there are ways of handling that also. Like although they don't provide this data formally, when we have the the relationship with them, we say a proper relationship. When we have friends in these institutions, we can get that data. So to do research, because we are not going to sell that data. And so therefore, the way I handle basically the data gap is that I have my contacts in these institutions with I contribute to their requirements. So I support them unconditionally. So therefore, they also support me when we provide data. So therefore, I have the access to data where it's available. I usually get that data, but then I don't publish as it is. I just use it for data is owned by them, and they give that data only for with the confidentiality statement. So, but then I use that data and then manage with that. So therefore, in Sri Lanka, unfortunately, formal requests might not work, but then informally having correct personal relationship, helping them when they need assistance will allow you to access the data. So that you can get the data, and even sometimes I support some of the other researchers also through my contacts because I also help them, the government institutions when they require assistance. No? So therefore, unfortunately, most of the data is not available. No? So therefore, in Sri Lanka, we need that. So there's a gap there. So there are a lot of gaps, but even with that, you can do research. So you should not stop doing research by saying that we don't have it. No, we have to manage somehow with the existing resources. Of course, we can try to get more resources, but then if you don't get it, don't stop research and do some at least research to cater for the requirements. So we have to manage with that. And that's also an important aspect to highlight. Don't expect to have all the data, resources to do a research. It will never happen. You have to manage with the existing resources or accessible resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Moving on to the next question. How can we measure the impact of our research on society and the environment, and what metrics should be used to evaluate our success?
Yeah, so that's also going to the first, I think, initial questions we discussed. The framework called Sustainability Assessment Framework. So in that framework, all these matrices are there. They are different, tools, multiple tools we can use in combinations to tackle particular problem. But in the methodology of doing a research, in the methodology, we have to identify those. We set some criteria and indicators to measure the output, outcome, and impact. Remember that there are results coming in 3 levels: output, outcome, and impact. Outputs are immediate results. Outcome are medium, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years time results. Impact are long term. So therefore, you can have indicators to assess those. That doesn't mean we have to have an indicator and then do the research for 15 years to get the impact. But we have to have an indicator to at least judge what will happen in 15 years, not something like that. So therefore, you set that indicators. Is the what you call problem definition thing. When you define the problem, your methodology, we have to have that framework basically. You have to identify criteria in social criteria, environment criteria, economic criteria, the governance aspect, with the policy regulatory aspect, everything we have to have important area, not everything, but important areas. You have to have your own criteria and indicators which can use to measure the results. The results again, output means immediately when you complete the project, we have to show that results immediately after that. So that means some output should be, these are measurable. So then outcome, 5 years time, what's going to happen? So we have to some indicator for that. Then impact. So all these you have to have in place: output, outcome, impact. And these indicators, the criteria, especially indicators, we call SMART indicators. SMART means S-M-A-R-T. SMART means specific. It should be specific to your project, your work. You can't have a SDG there. Remember that. We make that mistake. We just type indicator and put it there. It's wrong. You can't do that. We have to have your own indicator aligned to SDG. SDG Sustainability Development Indicator. So we have a SMART means specific, measurable. That indicator has to be measured. You can't just have qualitative. Measurable. Relevant. It should be relevant to your, the objective or the target. Then time bound. You have to set a target immediately after your project, in 5 years, in 10 years, so maybe 2030 is the long term thing. So we have to have a time bound also. We have a 5 areas: SMART, S, specific, measurable, relevant, then attainable. We have to have indicator which has like this, there's a potential of achieving it. You can't set the indicator, for example, going to a moon. Of course we can attain it, but very rarely it happens in local context, right? But we can say at least you can, move towards the moon, going to up to maybe a tree height, something like that, not to the moon level, something like it should be attainable, something which can be attained. For example, 70% target by 2030, attainable but difficult. So it's a target set. There are similar targets set by globally also. Challenge is there, but not impossible. If we say 100% renewable by 2030, I don't think it's attainable. So even 70%, there's a discussion going on whether it's attainable. There are a lot of challenges are there, with the capacity, knowledge, and so on. But at least it's an area where we have a target to work on that. So attainable, that's the A. Then time bound. We have to have time. You can't say just say attain this one without indicating time. Within a year, within 5 years, 10 years, we have to do that. So your indicators should be smart indicators. So then once you set that thing, then you can monitor. We are not expecting you to have all the things attained. At least we have your progress. So and remember that these are we had to have a review process and feedback. So probably we are going to fail, but then it's a learning. Failure also a result. So we record it and then ensure that in next cycle we don't make that failure, right? So but in Sri Lanka this never happened. We complete the project, all the results will be go only the project. It will again we start the project from zero again. So that's the issue we have. But then failure is also a result. Remember that. So therefore, not even to understand there's a failure, we have to have an indicator. So we have to set the indicators. So therefore, sustainability criteria methodology can be used for that one. So we had a social criteria, for example, number of empowering generation. If we develop a technology, we can say, right, we are increasing maybe empowerment by 100 or 200 or maybe percentage. Then gender aspect, for example, we are supporting, the gender aspect, even disabled persons. We can have indicators on that and work on that. So therefore, setting up this sustainable criteria framework is a good start. And then we have to have localized indicators. It's not to suit your case. Smart indicators will do that. Again, these guidance are available, in media, public media. So you can get different tools developed by different agencies to suit your thing. So, but we have to localize it, to suit your thing. Don't just copy and then use it, because these are developed under different contexts. You have to ensure that this particular method you are developing with justification, we can change it. Remember that. So we have to localize it. You have to to the person's circumstances, your situation, specific situations, we have to change these tools. So that adaptation has to be done. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. As an ending note, sir, I would like to ask you, what advice do you have for our listeners who are doing these researches on this topic?
I think throughout the discussion, there are kind of advices, but some of the key, I think, area where we have missed, in my opinion, is we have neglected the society. We have neglected the need of the particular stakeholder group or the community as a whole. So anything you do, ensure that is contribute to the society. Society may be a particular, maybe a community group, or maybe disabled persons, or maybe a certain area, maybe fishermen, farmers, SME, micro industries, anyone, even any other, even large industry. Ensure that your research contribute to their development, their need. That's number one. Number two, I would say you need partnerships. Don't work in isolation, and partnership be multidisciplinary. Try to work with other universities, other departments, other faculties. I don't know, like you are from science faculty, whether you are working with, for example, medical faculty. So whether we have, even whether your curriculum allow you to do that, I'm not very sure. Even Moroto, we had that issue. We work in isolation. We have, for example, medical. Now we have medical faculty. Of course, there are now common topics. Working groups are there, but it's limited. So we work in isolation. Even within a department, also we work in isolation. So you need multidisciplinary team. Of course, different faculties, different department, different years even. Work with a junior level, then with the private sector, government agencies, community, NGOs, so we had to select appropriate. We had to have a multidisciplinary team to work in a good research project. So research, I said earlier also, your research will have multiple benefit in for different stakeholders. The research report we are getting is not that the communication tool. The report is just a very detailed. It's like a thesis, no? That thesis, we have even project, we have an abstract, for example. We have 300-page thesis, but there's a half a page abstract, which cover the 300 pages information, right? By a half a page or 1 page or sometimes two-page extended abstract. So that's we do, no? Similarly, you should be able to convert these 300 pages or 100-page document to 2-page policy brief for the policymakers, for example, and also communication material, maybe leaflet to the community, for example, likewise, depending upon the target group. So we have to have multiple communication tools to convey the things. So don't stop by having just the report, but then when you go for output, outcome, and impact, you have to have that, So then basically you have to go for multiple communication tools. So use those tools. Even you can work with media, for example. So that's another one. And third, the final one, I would say, is a kind of a habit we have to have when you do a research, when someone has a request for you to do it, always do something more than what they expect. Don't stop. Most of the time they don't have what they request also it's not there, but try to ensure something you do more than what they expect. By the resource given, by the money given, by the time given, everything, have something more than the stakeholder expected. Then they understand, like they value that will have long-term, gain for you. So do more than what they expect. So that's another thing I also follow, try to do, and also before the deadline. So don't, if they have deadline, at least one day before the deadline, deliver it more than what they expect. So that's the target you have to set. Then the life become, of course, challenging. Probably you have to sleep only 4 hours per day to reach that. But of course, you are young and you can do that. Not like us, do that. Work hard and then deliver more than what they expect. And also when you have the communication, technical report writing is very important. The report writing, especially technical report writing, don't keep any mistake, even the words, grammar or spelling. Never have mistake in your report, because report go with your name as well as your supervisor. So when you have my student, I ensure that they correct everything. It's a tough task for them, but then I keep on changing those things till no error. So don't allow the spell check to do that. You have to do by your own thing. You learn then spelling also. Of course, you can do it, but then ensure that you word by word, sentence by sentence is your thing, not others. So don't copy. Have your own report, then you are eligible to write your name on the report. So otherwise, it's not. So ensure that no errors, no copying. If you copy it, if you take that one, then ensure that you have the references correctly. And also, it's not cut and paste. You look at a research paper, understand their thing, then they don't write the same thing. You write in your own language, own style. You have your own style. So therefore, copying will not happen. So, but the information get from particular resource, but that doesn't mean you can't, cut and paste. Never do that. Even pictures, never cut and do pictures in your report. If someone else effort, unless they allow it, you have to get the formal approval. Otherwise, never cut and paste text or graph or anything. I sometimes redraw graph. I redraw pictures with value addition. So when you refer it, my picture, my graph will have more information than the original one. I say they adapted from this reference because then there's incremental thing. Otherwise, it's a copying thing. So I redraw it with an additional value there. So then it's become, because I also give the reference, but then I have the I can use that information because it's my effort also there. But I give the reference, but then say I adopted from this one. So therefore, always have value addition. Don't cut and paste. So those are some of the, I think, guidance I can give. But again, you can learn through your experiences. So then you can have your own way of doing it. So you become expert. You become unique person. So everyone, each one of you, millions, can be unique persons, having your expertise built into your work. So that's, we have to work hard, but then you can be happy. So your life will be very successful, personally, financially, everything, if you become a real expert. So don't be a half-baked expert. Try to be a full expert. Then your life will be successful, personal and professional both. That basically my maybe final comment on that. Yeah. Thank you.
Great advice, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a very informative video session. Let me take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of the organizing committee for gracing this occasion. We are indeed humbled by your presence here today, for spending your valuable time with the betterment of the earnest youth of Sri Lanka. And I truly believe your words made an immensely positive impact on all of us. Let me also express my gratitude to the Career Guidance Unit of the University of Colombo Faculty of Science for providing consistent guidance throughout. And thank you to everyone for being a part of this wonderful occasion. We shall meet again for another video session soon on SDG 8, refers to the 8th goal of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and reproductive employment, and decent work for all. Also, do remember to connect with our social media platforms for further details. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.